guys and a microphone. Two bald guys and a microphone. Two bald guys and a microphone. Two bald guys and a microphone. Hello, we're back, and some people been wondering where we've been. It don't matter, cause right now it's happening. Same station, new day and time slot. Content forever is flowing, we won't stop. Providing remedies for chemical brain freeze. And teaching reboot, stressing you believe. We're two bald guys and a microphone. We're glad to be back, it feels good to be home.
Welcome to
Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
I'm Coach Papa Stewart here with my partner of, how many years?
Since 2016. What is that? We rolling in on 8 years? Woo!
Good Lord.
8 years.
Same guy, it's enough to make a man lose his hair.
I'm telling you. Just a couple quick shout outs this morning. One is to our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190. Check out John and his team as they do wonderful things. Reflexology, it was easy for you to say. Massage therapy, acupuncture, hot stone, deep tissue, sports massage, you name it, they do it. They are incredible. And our good friends over at JH Events and Flowers. If you have an event, you need flowers, or if you just need flowers. After a stormy winter day, nothing brightens up the home more than a nice bouquet of flowers. Check them out at JH Flowers. JH Events and Flowers. Now 2 locations right there. You'll see them, 815-331-8616, in their new location in Fox Lake, right across from the train station. Love what they do, and check them out. Thanks for their support. So we're fresh into 2024. How was your week?
It was, so far it's been a great week. We had 1 day of work and 1 day off with a snowstorm.
Yeah.
So I thought I had a lot of time to get things done yesterday. And, found out sometimes when I have too much time, I just don't get enough things done.
We is the same way. We were just talking about it. I didn't take out the calendar, and things got overlooked because the calendar was tucked neatly away in the backpack. We've been talking about habits, and Shana, good morning. Today we want to talk about maybe into next week, and just a program, a little something for the programming is Two Bald Guys and a Microphone is going to be on the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays. We just want to be able to dig in a little bit to the content and topics, and with as busy as our lives are, a weekly show right now is tough to do, to just bring really good content. So the 2nd and 4th Wednesdays are what we're going to be rocking out here at 21.6. But we wanted to talk about, we talked a little bit about and argued a little bit about habits last show, and we wanted to talk about 6 steps to change a habit, right? Because habits have some bad connotations, and when we think of habits, normally we think of a bad habit or something that we want to change. It may also just be a good habit that you want to make stronger,
right? And as we talk about that, we don't want you to break the habit of brushing your teeth.
Right, please.
Of showering. These are good habits, but the habits we're looking at and trying to identify as habits that are maybe unhealthy, maybe time wasting. They have some negative effect on your life.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we don't even recognize those habits because they're on automatic. They're habits.
Right.
They just happen. In your tips today, there's going to be a couple of really good things to do to identify some of those habits, and then we'll go from there.
So I mean, we've got 6 steps, but we'll try to get to those 6 steps, and of course, we are always talking about reboot, and these 6 steps are coming out of the new book that's going to be released called Reboot. So there's some work that we've been doing over the years, you and I, that we're going to put down in between a front cover and a back cover.
Have you ever gone back and looked at there was a period of time where we did 5 days a week.
Yeah.
and we did reboot thoughts. And I was just going back and reviewing some of those. And there's some really good content there.
Yeah.
And I know that you use
well, a lot of that's going into this book, right? Which is cool. So keep a lookout. But of course, reboot is recognize the need that something needs to change, right? The E is for
educate yourself on how to make that change, on who can help you make that change.
Yep.
The B in reboot is,
of course, believe, and we'll have Damon K. Ross in a little bit later in the show to talk about that belief. And the first O
is the operating system. We have to, constantly upgrade this operating system. With the brain training, we make it work better, but with the mindset training and other things, you have to constantly be working on that operating system. The second O,
orchestrate. Lisa can go ahead and she can take a pendulum and she can go hypnotize you, but you need to want to be hypnotized, and it's really you who will make any change in your life, whether it's forced on you or you decide. So you need to make those changes. And T,
it's about testing.
Yeah.
Is the change working? A lot of times we go through all these changes, and what we find out was the habit we use to replace the old habit isn't any better than the first habit.
Right.
Right. We have to really make sure and test and be willing to make adjustments.
Yeah.
And sometimes just deep six the whole project.
Yeah. So really, what we're talking about is 6 steps to change a habit. And some of these you may have heard before, but when you're embarking on a journey of self-discovery and habit transformation, it requires a willingness, Coach, to explore the depths of your own behavior.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we don't want to look at.
Right. That is so it's not easy. That's our
Right.
fine print for the next 2 show. A pendulum. I don't know what you call it. A charm on a necklace. I'm not that. I don't know. I didn't have it in my notes and I was reaching. Anyway, I know you don't use that. I'm teasing. Of course, Lisa, for those of you who don't know, Lisa, this week, Sunday at 9 a.m., Living Outside the Box will be cool. Going to be talking about some paranormal stuff with some pictures. This is when you definitely don't want to miss. Yeah, you have to really explore the depths and listen to what I'm saying, the depths of your own behavior. What we do a lot of times is we skim right over the top like an old skipping stone. Right. We'll hit it a couple times, but I'm not going deep with it. Right.
And sometimes those old behaviors are hidden. Maybe you haven't done them for a while, but something brings them out.
Yeah.
The next thing you know, you're right back into it.
Yep. And of course, so we've got about 6 steps, but they're practical exercises and they're designed to be introspective tools, right? Guiding you through a self-reflection and mindful observation to unveil the hidden patterns that shape your habits, right? So again, this is, Coach and I talk about this a lot. Rancher Ron talked about it a lot. Life is a journey, not a destination.
Right. It's an adventure to be
Yeah.
lived.
And so what we want to do is guide you through that a little bit. And believe it or not, and I've been very critical about gratitude journaling, right? We've had some shows. I do it, but at the same time, people think, well, if I just gratitude journal, my life all of a sudden twist turns upside down and everything is roses and sunshine. So I've been critical to say, no. I mean, it's a good thing because you're manifesting, you're writing down things, but it doesn't mean that you're going to pull a rabbit out of the hat.
Right. It's not magic.
Right.
But it is a tool, and it's a tool to keep you on the positive.
Mm-hmm.
Zig Ziglar said, positive thinking will not allow me to do anything, but positive thinking will allow me to be better at whatever it is I already do. positive thinking won't allow me to be a neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
Right. But it will allow me to be the best radio host I can be. It will allow me to be the best mortgage guy. It will allow me to be the best.
Yeah.
The best parent or coach or,
right.
or whatever. So in that same light, don't, okay, I'm going to become $1 million salesman if I write my gratitudes down every day. No, but you will become a better salesman, and the potentials are for great things to happen.
That's right. So why do I bring this up? The first step in changing any habit is create a habit journal, right?
Damon says he can hear me, but it sounds like my mic is off.
Well,
so
I don't know what that means.
Well, let me call in my production.
Let's see. Yeah. All right.
So Damon, give me some more feedback on this as we move forward in 1, 2, 3, 7, 6, 5. But with any habit, Stephen Covey did some research a long time ago, and he said 21 days to create a habit, 7 days to break it. So when you identify a new habit, it's going to take some time to make it work. Later on in the show, actually today, hopefully we'll get to it, or it might be in our next show. We're going to give you some insight on how to replace those habits quicker if you want to apply a little bit of time to it. Damon, is that any better?
Much better, Luke says.
Anyone? Okay.
Hello, all the way from Florida.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks, Damon, for pitching in.
Hey, Lisa, I'll always get hypnotized as long as you don't make me a chicken.
I'm definitely in. Lisa. The first time I was hypnotized, side note, squirrel, I was 18 years old, visited my brother in San Diego. He's in the Navy. And we went to see a hypnotist by the name of Dr. Michael Dean. It was a show, and I was one of the people who brought up stage. I qualified with their test to be hypnotized on stage. So that was the first experience I had with it, and I really enjoyed it and look forward to it.
All right. So now that you can hear Coach, let's start all over.
Welcome to Two Bald Guys and a Microphone.
All right. So the first step in the 6 steps to change a habit. I still love you though. I'm going to send you a comb. That's right. Now is habit journaling. Now listen to what. Okay, this is an interesting thing. But begin by keeping a habit journal. It can just be, remember the little flip notepad?
Right.
It doesn't have to be a huge book or something, it can be just notepad, Post-its, whatever you want to do. But we're asking you to do it for a week. Document your daily routines, paying special attention to the habits you want to understand better. Okay. Whatever it may be. That's to each one of you, right? Note the time of day. Okay. The circumstances and your emotional state before and after each habit. Okay. So let's just say, that's great. What is going on behind us? Let's just say, obviously we glitched in the Wi-Fi. Let's just say snacking.
Okay.
Let's just say that you are finding yourself remote working, or it's a snow day, or whatever the case may be, and you're noticing, boy, I'm snacking a lot, right? So note the time of day, the circumstances, and your emotional state before and after each habit. Now, the journal is going to serve as a mirror, reflecting the context and triggers surrounding your habits. So for a week, you're doing this, and let's say you are working remote or whatever, and every day at about 1:43, you get up and go get
cashews.
Yeah, whatever. It doesn't even have to be bad. It might be cashews. It might be ice cream. I don't know. Whatever the snack may be. But every day at 1:43, what are you feeling? What is your emotion? What's the circumstances? Right.
Yeah.
at 1:43, did you just go through emails from work? Right? At 1:43, did you step outside and just get back from a long walk? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are the circumstances? I just got off of a phone call, a Zoom call, or my daily check-in, or whatever, and that made me angry, excited. And what is the emotional state? Now, this is a hard thing. Again, this is a journey you got to kind of dive into. If you just skip the stone over it, your habit journal is going to say 1:43 cashew for 7 days. 1:43 cashew, right? Now, yeah, we can do a group one. That's fine with me. I'm all right. So the idea is, what are you feeling at the moment? Right? It's being very mindful.
Yes.
When there's the habit that you want to take a look at, or that you're journaling about, right? At 10 o'clock every morning, I have a Pop-Tart. I don't, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. Why is it? And sometimes you may just find, Coach, that there aren't any circumstances around it. There aren't any, right? So if you take a look at us old guys here, we were raised that you have 3 square meals.
3.
And especially on the farm.
On the farm, right?
Noon you had dinner.
There wasn't time to eat between.
Right. So you got up, and at 6 you had breakfast. At noon you had dinner or lunch, and at 4 or 5 you had supper.
It's normally 8 or 9. But
well, there you go. See what I'm saying? And so that has carried on into your adult life.
Right.
So because of all the years that you're in school, hey, at 11:30 is when I went to lunch as a kid. So at 11:30, I find myself wanting to have lunch. There's no really emotional state to it. The circumstances aren't necessarily crazy. It's just, this is a habit and a pattern that I've created. I don't even know if I'm hungry. I just know that it's 11:30. It's time for lunch and then recess, right? So again, it's not a bad habit necessarily, but you may find out that there's really nothing behind it other than, I've always done this.
Yeah, I've always done it that way.
Right? Is it dinner? When we were growing up, it was at 5 o'clock. We had 5 o'clock dinner. And now I look at it and go, that's kind of early for dinner. So what is the circumstance? So you do this for a week, you're going to be able to see the pattern. You're going to be able to see the habit. So Lisa says, by doing the habit journal, that will help you discover the subconscious triggers to the nervous system causing the need for what you seek in habit. Absolutely. And stay with us, because you're going to love step number 2. Joe Turner, good morning, says, I was drilled to eat breakfast every day as a kid. I don't now, because it's too much once I have lunch and dinner, right? There's a lot of people who don't eat, right? And it's research shows with fasting and things of that nature, intermittent fasting, is that you don't need to eat breakfast. You need to eat when you're hungry, right? So if you're hungry at 10, that's when you eat, right? But there are still people who will fight and say, still the most important meal of the day. They're great.
I've been following the intermittent fasting diet for about 3 weeks now, and I'm really enjoying it, and I feel better. I feel more energized. Sometimes that, the breakfast, and our breakfasts were big on a farm.
Well, you had to fuel up, right? Right. So by keeping a habit journal for a week, and all we're doing is saying a week, but I want you to do it for 7 days straight. Don't do it for 3 and come back 2 days later, right? Christine says, I wake up and start my coffee pot. While I'm waiting for that first cup to brew, I always go have a morning cigarette. There's your breakfast, right? Now I would, right? And what we're asking in this habit journal, Christine, is to write that down. Is it the same time? And what is your emotional state? What are your circumstances? Is it something that is as Lisa said, what's that trigger? Is there a trigger, right? And Lisa says, yeah, hey, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. It was created in the 50s by a cereal company. Yes, that's why I said they're great. The second step that you need to take to change a habit is ABC analysis.
I really enjoyed reading your notes on this because who talks about antecedents?
I was like, I need a big word. Got the thesaurus out. So yes, do an ABC analysis, right? Apply the ABC analysis to your habits. A stands for antecedent, or the cue, or the trigger, right? And Lisa just brought that up. B stands for behavior. Okay, the habit itself. And C stands for consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Consequence would be the reward or the outcome. Okay, with this framework, dissect each habit by asking yourself, what triggers this habit? Okay, what triggers the habit? Always be chewing. Yes, that is correct. So what triggers the habit? You wake up and you go right to make the pot of coffee, right? You rub the sleep out of your eyes. You stretch. You walk into the kitchen, and you get the coffee going. What triggers that habit? Right now, a lot of us will say, "I need my coffee before I can do anything." Well, what triggers that? Right? And if that's off, Christine, right? So let's say one of the kids is sick or something, or a dog is throwing up and it's not the first thing. How does that affect your day? What does that trigger, right? What triggers the need to do that? What triggers then the cigarette? What triggers, the toast, whatever the case may be? What is the behavior it prompts? That's a huge question to ask in this ABC analysis.
Right. Well, and not to get personal here, but if you, it's the cigarette smoking, is that one of those habits you would like to get rid of? I mean, maybe it's not, and I'm not trying to judge or say you should or you shouldn't, but if it's a habit you want to go, then the antecedent to it is the coffee.
Yeah.
And that, we can follow the steps through that and move on.
Right. So what is the behavior that it prompts? So in other words, to your point, is does brewing that cup of coffee then now I need a cigarette?
Right.
Is that the behavior? I got to go smoke.
I'm trying to hand feed you here.
Right. I mean, that's so a lot of what a habit is there's a behavior that follows. There's something, is it picking your nose? Is it whatever? And then what reward or consequence follows? So the reward then, perhaps for starting the coffee, is the cigarette. Right. Or giving your body the nicotine rush that it's looking for. Right. Now, if you are someplace and you have to smoke first, how does that affect your behavior as well? Right. Now, this analysis will unveil the habit loop.
The habit loop.
Right. So that habit loop is, well, every day at 11:30, I've eaten lunch. It's just time. My brain says it's time for lunch. It's like, whether I'm hungry or not, it's time for lunch. Well, then if you're traveling and all of a sudden you go from, Central to East Coast time, and now it's only 10:30, but the clock says 11:30, and now I'm all thrown off.
Right. Well, daylight savings time.
Right. I mean, you take a look at animals. And dogs in particular, because I don't like cats. So dogs in particular, hey, Diana says, good morning, and I am waiting for the coffee. Have a great day.
Morning, cuz.
And Christine says, I think changing my routine would be the first step. Perhaps, right? But
here's a routine, another name for habit.
Yeah, right. And take a dog, for instance. My dogs, we feed at 5 o'clock. Well, guess what we did a few weeks back? We moved the clock back. So now at 4 o'clock, my dogs come up and they're like, hey, it's time to eat. It's time. No. It's only 4. They're like, nah, right?
My doggy watch says it's
right.
5.
They know they have a routine. They have a habit. And at a certain point, they can't tell time. So at so many hours, they're like, hey, let's go. Right. And so that's kind of that same thing, that same habit, that same behavior. It'll unveil that loop. They know. And again, like a good human being, I look at my dogs as if they understand me and go, hey, we've got an hour. They don't know what that means. Right. They're like,
it's when the little paw is on the 12.
right. And that's that habit loop. They just know, hey, this time in the day is when I eat. Right. And so it happens and they're ready to eat. And that's the habit loop. Right. And that's okay. We all have those habit loops, but a lot of times we don't pay attention to them. Okay. And we want to take a look at the components of it for examination on why is it now, when you come over to my house at any time of the day, the first thing I offer you is something to drink. Why? Because I watched my grandparents do the same thing. You would need a coffee, you need a drink, you need a beer, you need a wine, you need a this, you need a that. Hey, that for whatever reason, come on in. What can I get you to drink? It's a habit that I learned as I took a look at the ABC analysis that I learned from my grandparents, watching them model that, right? And for whatever reason, it stuck. Because it always seemed that when people came over to their house or the cottage, as we would call it, everybody was always in a good mood and everybody would take a drink. Or, they'd have coffee, they'd have beer, they'd have whatever. And so I have associated that with you're going to come in and feel comfortable and welcome, and we're going to have a good time, and I'm going to offer you a drink.
It works.
Right. And I really didn't understand that until I did the ABC analysis on a habit. Now that's not a bad habit for me, right? No. It's just a habit,
right? And it's not something you really need to replace. I mean, I think it's respectful, it's good etiquette,
but it's understanding,
right?
Why this habit exists.
Hi, how are you? Hug. Gotta get you something to drink,
right? And so it's by doing the ABC analysis, the cue or the trigger is somebody's at the door. Right. And I want to make them feel really, really good. The behavior or the habit itself is offering the drink. Right. And then the reward of the outcome is I've made you feel good because you said yes or no or whatever. I feel that I've made you feel welcome in my house to give you something.
Unless I'm an alcoholic and you just kick me off my wagon.
Well, that's all right. Welcome to the Jones house. Welcome to the Jones house. Absolutely. Hey, we are we're at the little past, but let's talk about brain training. Definitely.
Well, with the brain training, and I'm just going to toss this in here. Everything that you hear today is something that we've been working on with the brain training process. The things that make the brain training work, there's 3 steps to it. A defined process using robust stimulation in an agile environment or ever-changing environment.
Mm-hmm.
So the defined process, you're identifying by, getting into your habit journal and looking down and then identifying what do I want to do to change that habit. Robust stimulation says, well, I can do this, once a day at 5 o'clock, and following the Stephen Covey concept, there's several others who have given other time frames to it, 21 days to create a habit, 7 days to break it. What John Kennedy has done is taken that and said, let's apply robust stimulation to that. In other words, let's take whatever we want to replace that habit with, and let's do it back to back to back to back to back. For example, we were talking in the green room about the snooze button on the alarm clock, right? The alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button, I roll back over. 5 minutes later, alarm goes off, I hit the snooze button, eventually I get up. Well, if you want to break that habit, the one thing you do is while you're awake, not going to fall asleep, you set your alarm for 2 minutes, you lay down in the bed, doing everything, the antecedent, everything that the word predates come to mind, but
the cue or the trigger.
pre-habit, the cue. When the alarm goes off, you get out of bed before you turn off the alarm. You turn off the alarm, you make your bed, you walk into the bathroom, to your closet, whatever your next step is. Then you walk back and you do it again. You do this 10 times within a 15, 20-minute time period, and you've laid the groundwork for the new habit. Now, you still are going to have to be consciously aware of it for a little while before it becomes an ingrained habit.
Yeah.
But in that 20 minutes, you will have replaced the old habit with the new process. So it's robust stimulation applied to habit changing is really it's a game changer.
Yeah. Years ago, I stopped hitting snooze. And a lot of it was because I think we had somebody on here or something who says, that's you've let yourself down. That's the first time you let yourself down in the day. You set the alarm for a reason to get up at a time. And if you hit snooze, it's because you've already said it's not important.
Yeah. I go back to Zig Ziglar a lot of times. He said, that's not an alarm clock. It's an opportunity clock. That thing goes off. You have an opportunity to.
That's it.
I like that. You want to put Lisa's up there.
That they get drunk to keep them around.
You have to get them drunk to keep them.
Listen, I watched my grandfather. He'd drink a case of beer in a day because so many people would come over.
Yeah.
And the mailman would be dropping, "Hey, you want a beer?" We do have alcohol in our house. We're not big drinkers, but yeah. Joe Turner says, does it help to have your partner kick your ass out of bed? It absolutely does. Absolutely does.
Well, that's a whole different habit we'll get into.
And of course, Joe Turner, he is the host of In the Know with Steph and Joe. He's not Steph, he's the Joe part. Every Friday at 3. This week, we've got a best of that'll be run, but some great things coming up in the near future for these folks. But always good stuff. Fridays at 3, In the Know with Steph and
see
Joe.
What happens when you tune in to 2 bald guys and a microphone, and you have a show here. We give you extra.
That's it. Little love. Of course, Joe Turner, Restoration One, as well as Restoration One is a big part of support of In the Know with Steph and Joe. Christine's part of that as well. So we've got habit journaling. So you've done the journaling for a week. You've figured out a habit that you'd like to change or better understand, right? Or because it may not be a bad habit. And you're doing the ABC analysis on it once that you've had a week's worth of habit journaling. And so now we know the antecedent or the cue or trigger. We know the habit itself now is eating lunch at 11. And it's interesting too, as we take a look at lunch, as I did this and I take a look at lunch, lunch for me, I was always a lunchbox or brown bagger.
Okay.
So lunch for me always consists of a sandwich, chips, right? And a drink of some sort. And when I was doing sugar or whatnot, and good morning, Toby, glad to have you with us, was, a little Debbie snack cake or, a little dessert, right? And so, but never like a Jell-O cup. If I had a Jell-O cup, I was trading that off or something, right? So it's interesting that my lunches are very similar to the way I grew up. And not that I even want to have a bologna sandwich. It's just like, hey, bologna sandwich, bologna and cheese sandwich, mustard, lettuce is what you do for lunch, yep. And so even what I eat or the things in the way that I prepare is a habit. It's just a habit from when I was a kid, right? It's not necessarily bad again, but it is. Step number 3, this one will blow your mind, is mindful observations. So practice mindfulness. I have it on the board. It's, it's number 7 on my rules for success is practice mindfulness, right? Practice mindfulness during habitual activities. Okay, so if you're doing something, we talked last week about do you take the same way to work? Right. So every day this week, that has been going through my mind. And I've been watching what I do, what I'm thinking, what I'm not thinking as I'm driving into the station or as I'm driving. Because I do take it. I'm like, God damn, I'm swearing at Coach a couple times. Like, God damn it, Coach. Right? Couldn't I just enjoy this drive? What am I listening to? Why am I listening to it?
Right.
You know, everything. I became very, very mindful, like Zen right now in the moment. That's what being mindful is, right? And so you choose the habit you'd like to explore. So that was it, driving into work. Because you're like, hey, don't you take the. And now I'm like, should I turn right today instead of left? Because there's two ways I could come into work from where.
Two simple ways.
Yeah, two simple ways. Right. So you choose that you choose the habit you'd like to explore, and as you engage in it, bring your full attention to the present moment. Notice the sensations, the emotions, the thoughts associated with the habit.
Yeah.
Right. And what is it? Right.
This is interesting. How important is it that your partner is supporting you in breaking your habit? Well, that goes into a whole relationship conversation, but I think that it is having that support. And one of the things, I don't know if you talk about it here later on, but openly admitting I'm going to break that habit, right? If you,
it's kind of in step 6.
You keep it inside. I'm going to quit smoking. I'm going to quit smoking, but
Yeah.
you don't tell anybody about it because, well, maybe I don't quit smoking, and then I don't want everybody to know that I failed at stopping smoking.
Yeah.
But once you bring in an accountability partner, once you make the public announcement, I'm doing this, then it becomes more viable that you'll get it done.
Yeah.
So I think it's important.
So I had a and I guess the way that I would answer that, Joe, is that's the part of the mindful observation. Why has this habit affected my wife, my partner, so much that they care? Right.
Yep.
And is my habit, are my actions affecting them? Obviously it could be, or it could just be like, hey, you keep cutting your arm because you're a cutter, something like that. And I am worried about you. But anyway, it is important. I had an opportunity to speak to an organization, a group yesterday about goal setting. And, I talked about the process of, what's your process, and people shared their process. And I said, okay, who is the one person that when you are off the track at the end of June and you're not on track to hit any of your goals, who's that one person you need in your pocket to get you back on track and to achieve those goals?
Your boss.
Now, I had people push, wow, you never know what's going to happen in life. Blah, 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 blah. I said, okay, so what you're telling me is you don't have that. You haven't thought of this step before. Right? You need that accountability person. Okay. If you didn't, we wouldn't have bad habits. Right? We wouldn't hit the snooze button. We wouldn't do the things that we don't have enough willpower to stop. If that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
So you need that. And so how important? Absolutely important, because hey, if I didn't need that accountability person or a partner to help me through this and understand the journey that I'm going through, every workout facility in the world would be full every day. Right? They would not be getting rich off of your $10 monthly drip that you haven't gone in 3 years. You know what I mean? And you just haven't turned that drip off. And that's what that's what the mindful observation is. The mindful observation allows you to detach from the automatic nature of the behavior.
Okay.
And it provides insights into deeper layers. So like Shrek says, it's like an onion. You start peeling back those layers, being very, very mindful. But again, it allows you to detach from the automatic. Okay. So as I was stating, as I'm driving to work and I'm taking the same way, I'm not usually not thinking about it. Right. But I've noticed, why did I turn my blinker on today and I didn't yesterday? Why do I turn my left blinker on, but never my right blinker?
One of the things that used to be a habit for me when I was driving was I'd write new poetry. I'd get an idea, and while I was driving, I'd create. And over the past couple of years, I'll find myself while I'm driving, preparing for a talk coming up or something, or just practicing, so it keeps this stuff fresh in my mind, that I really haven't created anything for a while. So in the drives lately, I've been working on creating new works, and amazingly enough, I'm coming up with new stuff. Because I've been mindful about, I want to do this coming up.
The book Atomic Habits is a great book, and there's a great illustration in there about driving, right? And habits, and helping people understand. Like, do you remember the first time you got in the car and you were very aware of the gas pedal? You were very aware of the brake pedal. Your hands were a little sweaty. You were 10 and 2. You knew, you felt everything in the car. You saw everything. Because you were nervous, and you were like, oh my gosh, because it was new. And now, Joe, you are reading a magazine, looking at something online, driving with your knee, eating a burrito, answering emails, all while driving 55 miles an hour in a 40-mile-an-hour zone, right? So driving becomes a very, very big habit to us. We spend a lot of time in vehicles nowadays. But I thought that was very interesting, and an interesting concept on habits is, sometimes habits start out very uncomfortable. Smoking, like you said last week. Nobody ever was like, ooh, that tastes terrific.
The first shot of Kentucky bourbon.
Ooh, nobody's like, love it. Yeah.
It's an acquired taste.
Yeah. Do you have a can in my truck? A camera? Yeah, absolutely. And so the idea is a lot of habits that we want to replace, change, improve, whatever, start out very uncomfortable, like when you're driving the car. And then they become so comfortable, so regular. Now to step on a brake, you don't think about it. Right. When you first are driving, you're like, whoop, whoop. I grew up, as you did, on a 4-speed, right? So it was, feet moving and revving, and right. No, boy, don't get on a hill.
I as a farmer in Nebraska, you start driving on the farm at 7 or 8 years old, and you had to put a wooden block on the clutch and the brakes so you could even reach them. So it was one of those things. It was ingrained in me so young that it's just natural. Now, as I'm teaching, we have a 15-year-old grandson now who's on his learner's permit, and it scares the bejesus out of me getting in the car with him.
Well, the first time, back in Michigan, we lived on a 100-acre farm, and we had a nice farm mall, and I put that thing right into the chicken coop, went right up over the fence, and started climbing the side of a barn. So the first time I got into the Chevette that I learned to drive on, I was like, oh, it was scary, right? So those are 3 steps. So again, let's just repeat, is do a habit journal. Does not have to be a huge 3-ring binder. It could be a little flip journal you get at CVS. But track your habits for 7 days, just 7 days. The next 7 days, track habits, and then pay particular attention to them. And then do the ABC analysis on it. In other words, A is for antecedent, or the cue or trigger, right? B stands for behavior, the habit itself, and C stands for consequence, or the reward to the outcome. Okay. And then mindful observation, detached from that automatic nature of the behavior. Why am I doing this? What is happening right now? Be very, very present. Be very, 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 very present. With that, of course, we roll right into our belief with Damon K. Ross. Damon, let's see what Damon has to say about the 6 steps to changing a habit.
Hey, what's going on, folks? This is Damon K. Ross with the Believe segment of 2 Bald Guys and a Microphone here on 216 The Net. So today we're talking about how to change habits. And as we look at how to change habits, I think an important thing that we must realize is that we have to continue to work on our mindset and work on doing whatever we need to do in order to trust ourselves as we work on changing our habits. It's one of the challenging things for many people when it comes to working on changing habits is lacking the belief that they will actually be able to do that. Particularly if you have worked on changing those habits many times over the years. It's real easy to fall into a mindset that says that I'm not capable, I'm not worthy of change, I can't do this. And it is inevitable that we will run into roadblocks and we will stumble and have difficult times as we continue to work towards changing habits. So take whatever information that Coach and Kent gave with practical steps on how to go about changing habits, and make sure you're also continuing to work on your mindset, continuing to work on your belief, continuing to do things within those steps that you acknowledge yourself and that you have a deep understanding that you can trust yourself as you take the necessary steps to change your habits. And as I said, of course there's going to be tough times. Of course there's going to be days where things are difficult. There's going to be moments that rise up that's going to challenge your belief. But my encouragement to you is to continue to believe in yourself, continue to work on whatever it is you need to do to continue to boost and increase your self-belief, increase your feeling of self-worth, and to have that right mindset that says that I can overcome whatever challenges that come into my path. And understand that when we talk about changing habits, the reason we want to change habits are, for most of us, is because there's something that we're trying to accomplish. And our habits, some of our habits that we label as bad, are getting in our way. And so we can have, if we have the wrong mindset, we can have a fear that we won't be ready for those challenges down the road. So we don't pursue the necessary changes in order for us to accomplish those goals. And what we have to understand is that, yes, who you are currently may not be what you need to be in order to face those future challenges. But understand you are where you are because you were able to face your challenges in the moment. Like each and every day, we are here because we were able to face whatever challenges came our way to get us to this point. So understand that the person you are now, trust in yourself to be able to face those next steps in changing those goals. And by the time you get to those future challenges that we all imagine, or some of us, I won't say all imagine, but that some of us imagine that we're going to face as we continue to pursue change, understand that the work you do now will put you in a position so when you're in that future position, you will be able to handle it. Even though you may not be who you need to be now because of those habits, continue to believe that you do have the ability, and continue to have the mindset that says I am capable of making these necessary changes. I am capable of following through on the steps that were provided to me to help me strategically change my habits. If you can continue to do that, focusing on the next steps and focusing on your belief in the ability to make the next step, focusing on your belief and having the right mindset that says, I can make these changes. I can create new habits that are going to be beneficial to my life. There'll be no stopping me. I am Demar K. Ross, and I will remind you, as always, to keep striving, stay humble, be bold, and always believe in you. Till next time.
Where do we go? Where are we at?
We're here somewhere.
Oh, here we are. There we
There
are.
we are.
Hey, there we
We're
are.
back. Yeah.
Demand, great stuff. You know what I like, and I don't necessarily have it in the 6 steps. It is part of the book, but it's not these 6 steps. In 6 steps to take to change a habit is his belief part. Right. And we've attempted several times in the past to change a habit. All of us have. Whether it's stop eating sugar, I have a habit of drinking coffee, a lot of coffee, pots a day. And so I said, I just started paying attention. The caffeine doesn't even, I can drink a cup of coffee and go to bed, sleep like a baby. Right. And that's in a diaper, in a crib. Hey, Latanya, how are you? Glad to have you with us. Awesome stuff. I don't know what that. I don't know. Okay, thank you. There we go. All right, this is something up on the screen. So, but we've tried and we failed. He says that perhaps you're not ready for it. Perhaps you don't think that you're ready for the challenges that are going to come. So that's why you don't believe that you could change that.
Well, and there's probably some of this in there that says, I don't want to let go of it because it's a very familiar thing, whether it's smoking, drinking, pornography is a big addiction out there today. I don't want to let go of that. And, it's a big part of me. I know I should. I know it's not healthy, but it's part of who I am. If I let go of that, am I going to lose a part of myself?
Right.
And I think Damon, and what he's talking about really touches on that. Believe. If you believe, you can achieve.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. That's a huge part of it, and a lot of self-sabotage comes in. But that going back to the habit journal.
Yep.
Right. A lot of times your self-sabotage is going to fall in there, Coach, because now it's a mind game.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You and I were talking in the green room about our calendars, right? I'll call it a planner. You and I grew up back in the day, where the Franklin planner, right? And that's what we learned. And then in the last couple of years, I tried to go all digital on the phone, hashtag pocket computer. And it just, I noticed I was just missing a lot of stuff. Right. But now I get to write it down. I can see the whole week. And there's something about writing it down that I can now see what I have to do today, even when this is closed, instead of maybe thumbing it or typing it in. And that habit journal does the same thing. When you write it down, you're using a lot more senses. But as you write it down, you're sitting there going, interesting. I noticed that this happens every day at this time, or this happens, or whatever. So my habit of drinking coffee is I don't care if it's iced coffee. I don't care if it's hot. I do care if it's room temperature, because room temperature coffee tastes like garbage.
There's truth to that.
But and I started in my habit journal to notice oh my gosh, I drink a half a gallon to a gallon of coffee a day. I should be doing that with water.
Right.
But I go, my water tastes like coffee. Well, there's diuretics, there's things that coffee, whatever, right? We all know. So now I have said very present, I'm gonna keep it to 32 ounces of coffee in a day. Then I'll start drinking water or iced tea. Right. Why? I don't know. I don't know what it's I don't know what it's doing to me. It makes me pee a lot, I guess, but it was a habit. And I just want to go through these 6 steps. Can I change that habit?
The being in the Army and my background, but Army, did I show I'm in the Army?
Hey.
Coffee was important, and the same thing. I could have a cup, 2 cups, 3 cups of coffee right before bed and go chill out with no problem.
Right.
2 years ago, the year before the eye appointment that changed my life, I made the decision that just for the period of Lent, I wasn't going to drink coffee.
Yeah.
And coming out of Lent, I said, I wonder if, I'm just going to stay not drinking coffee. And I've pretty much said now I will have a cup occasionally now, but it doesn't throw me right back into I have to have 8 cups a day or 12 cups a day. I'll have a cup of coffee in the morning with Bill occasionally. I'll have a cup of coffee here sometimes when I come in. But it was a change in belief that really started that. I thought I had to have that coffee.
Yeah.
For as a soldier, and you gave me a choice between a meal and coffee. I'd take the coffee, right? Because you're constantly going. You got to keep that body on edge, on tune.
High alert. Yeah.
And now as a cardiac patient, it's one of the things they say, limit your caffeine. Well, I'll have a cup of hot tea that still has caffeine in it, or I'll switch that over to a herbal tea. But I've been successful with changing that habit, and it all started with the belief.
Yeah. So our next show is going to be on the 24th. And we're going to hit the last 3. I don't want to buzz through them because again, we talked about at the beginning of the show, embarking on a journey of self-discovery and habit transformation. And it requires a willingness to explore the depths of your own behavior. So the first 3 steps is really over the next 2 weeks, 7 days, really is about, can you do a habit journal? Can you do that ABC analysis? And again, rewind this to see what that is. And then can you give it mindful observation?
It sounds like it's their move now.
You're right.
It's your move to, and this is a challenge, folks.
Yeah.
This is a challenge. Those first 3 steps. Can you get a journal? Can you start identifying some of your habits? Don't go to work trying to change them right now. Let's just work on identifying those habits and identifying the triggers, identify the behavior, the habit itself, and what's the consequence? What's your reward? So over the next 2 weeks, on January 24th will be our next show. We'd like to have your input back, or if you want to give us input between then, it's just simple. You can reach out to us here on Facebook.
Yeah, if, you can do it here on Facebook in the comments. You can send an email to info@216thenet.com. Just put 2 bald guys in the subject line. We've got a 2 bald guys and a microphone at gmail.com. You can send it to Kent, Kent at 216thenet.com, whatever. But we'd love to hear it. This is a journey, right? We're going to share a lot of our stuff, but we want to hear a lot of your stuff, and that is important. Again, we want to give a shout out today to Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385 8190, and also to JH Events and Flowers. Check them out at jheventsandflowers.com. 2 great locations, one in McHenry, one in Fox Lake. If you need to brighten up somebody's day and or your own, a bouquet of flowers is a great way to do it.
Does Tom's Production still do his thing on Fridays?
Yeah, $5 Fridays. And if you say you heard it right here on 216 The Net, guess what? You can get a $5 bouquet that Tom will pay for. So I've got a friend. I've got 2 good friends. One is called Robocaller and one is Potential Spam. They call me quite often during the day.
They must be good friends.
They must be good friends. So great stuff. Again, the first 3 steps in the 6 steps, and this is part number 1, is habit journaling. ABC analysis.
Antecedent behavior consequence.
And mindful observation. Right? Notice the sensations, emotions of the habit. Mindful observation is going to allow you to detach from the automatic nature. That's the key, is to detach. And it works well because the past 7 days, just driving in, I've been very, very observant of those habits and things.
And the one thing we'd like to say is, if you are a nun, don't drop your habit in public.
That's right. Please. Listen, we've got to run. Come back in about a half hour for Metaphysical Meanderings with Master Psychic Lana Duncan Hartgrave. She's going to be talking about her predictions for 2024. So some good things, hopefully coming down the pipe that she'll be able to to tell us all about.
A lot of great shows here. Just go to 216thenet.com.
Well, don't do that.
Oh, that's right. It's under construction.
It's under construction. And I think if you go out there, it's the old one that I made, and it's still got shows from 2 years ago that it still has Uncle Pete.
But the new website is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
working with Think Big, Go
announce
Local on
Yes.
that. They're in the process right now, so hopefully by mid next week to end of next week, the new one will be out there. So by the next show, hopefully we'll.
Perfect.
We'll
Well, this is Tim Stewart. I am Coach Papa, and I do approve this message. God bless. Travel safe. Now it's time for you to get off the bench and get back in the game.
Two bald guys and a microphone. 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 Hello, we're back, and some people been wondering where we've been. It don't matter, cause right now it's happening. Same station, new day and time slot. Content forever is flowing, we won't stop. Providing remedies for chemical brain freeze. And teaching reboot, stressing you believe. We're two bald guys and a microphone. We're glad to be back, it feels good to be home.